Hello, everybody. Welcome. It's very nice to be here today with all of you. I'll introduce myself. My name is Courtney Crane. I am Saulteaux Anishinaabekwe, a member of the Key First Nation in Treaty 4 territory in Saskatchewan. And I do media and communications here at the First Nations Housing and Infrastructure Council. It is my absolute pleasure to welcome Sam Bobb, who I am so grateful to have here today. He's going to be sharing a very personal story. I raise my hands to you, Sam. You are a dear friend, and I'm so thankful to you. I just wanted to say before we begin this storytelling session, it deals with some really sensitive and heart-wrenching subject matter. So everybody, please take care. There are some numbers to call in case anybody needs to talk to anyone, because we know that this subject matter can be hard to listen to at times. But that being said, it's also very important. It's part of truth-telling, and it's part of reconciliation. And it's very necessary for healing and for moving forward. So we're really grateful for Sam for sharing his story with us. Also, I wanted to give thanks to the Department of Heritage Canada, because they provided the funding for this series. So there are going to be 4 speakers that we'll be having throughout the month. Sam is our first speaker. So I'm going to pass this over to Doug Harris. He is going to open us up in a good way. So over to you, Doug. Thanks so much.
Haichka, Courtney. Haichka. Haichka. Haitseepka. Oh, Haitseepka. My name is Doug Harris. My Hualmochsne is Talhuilam Tanitsanalt. I'm from the Tsimanis First Nations here on Vancouver Island. I work with First Nations Housing and Infrastructure Council as a regional housing hub coordinator. It's my honor to offer an opening prayer before we get started today. I will be using our beautiful language of the Halkamaitnam. I'd like to welcome Sam Bobb, Waitmalt from Snotnawas Tamuch, Haichka, Haitseepka. Stest ja wenst, si up na Silchwan, na si ya, na eli Schwatlakwa, Haitseepka, at the Kwasiela. Atanaquail, Ait Yatzelt, Titiwatzelt, Titwe Sensei. Titwe Sensei. Titwe Sensei. Nishtanashta Hotiwea Sansa Hataha Tita Siem, oh Tita Siemi Haichka, Haichka Tita Siemi Tanaquail, oh Tita Siemni Tihuamni Armistata Ait Squallowin, oh Tita Siemni Hakushita the Natama Squallowin, a Tanaquail, Itamuk Squail, oh Siem, Haichka, Haitseepka.
Thanks so much, Doug. I'll just say a few things about Sam before I pass it over to him. So Sam's from Nunus Bay. He's a professional actor. He acts in plays, he acts in film, he acts in TV. He's really renowned in the art community. And he was raised on the Nanoose Indian Reserve until he was 3 years old. And then he lived with his grandmother for 3 years till he was 6 years old. When he was 6, he was taken away to Cooper Island Residential School. And now he's going to be sharing his story with us about coming home and about what home means to him. We're really grateful to have you here, Sam. So I'll pass it over to you. Thanks so much.
Aichka, Aitzap, Welia, Aitzap Siya, just at the Tulkweek Mount, Sam Bob, Sun O's First Nations. My mom is from Likes First Nations, and very honored to be here and to share and talk about the hard things that part of our history, and it's very unique being a person who is part of our history, because it's the history is still happening around us. It's an honor to be a part of the healing aspect of it with your program, Aichka.
So Sam, maybe you could start by telling us what home means to you, and what it meant to leave home and what it meant to come back home.
I think the notion of home is, in the traditional sense, as Doug would attest to, is it would be a lot of it would be the connection with your siblings, and learning from both parents, learning both roles and aspects of life and where you fit, and in all the wonderful parts about Indian life. We're growing up traditionally, we're always a part of nature, hunting, and fishing, and traveling. We travel all across these great Coast Salish territories for fishing, extended. What I'm talking about is extended family. My grandfather on my mother's side was famous for organizing groups of family to go across to the Fraser Valley to pick hops and tobacco and broccoli and berries, and working in farms as in groups, and then transporting from there back and forth on the ferry. And at the time, we weren't allowed on the passenger deck of the BC ferries when my mother was a child. So they'd work all of the fields. They would work the Steveston canneries, and part of family would be that connection to all your relations, and your from your grandparents to your parents, your aunties and uncles, and your cousins are, you're kind of always with your cousins, so they're like extended brothers and sisters. So I guess I'm saying is home is like, it's a very interconnected thing. It's like almost like a beehive. Everybody's busy, everybody's always connected. Even though we were switched from the longhouse system, we used to all live in a longhouse at one time. All the families would live in different parts of the longhouse. My mother lived in a longhouse when she was a little girl for a little while, and we just shared only separated by blankets, and shared food and shared duties, and living with my parents growing up. And it was a wonderful thing, like growing up and seeing all the different parts of family, like always interacting with each other. And and then growing up with my grandparents for a few years, just all the wonderful things that, like my grandfather was an avid hunter, and my grandmother, she was a traditional worker in both the Shaker Church and the Longhouse traditions, and who was very particular about doing work on me as a young child, and Doug will know what I mean when I say doing work, but it's like uh like uh uh, uh like a spiritual, what a lot of people know about is smudging, but we had it uh, with a candle, or just even with, or she would work with an aura and just pray and sing like that beautiful song Doug sang. She would pray beautiful songs and sing, and 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 just when I was very little, she used to do that to me, and it would, to uplift my spirit and to strengthen me. And that was all, I guess, the role of the grandparents, the role of the parents, and your ability to be connected to a community. That was home. I think that was very much home. And uh, then then losing that is a very tough thing, a very hard thing to do happen. I went to residential school at 6 years old for grades 1 and 2, and it was very much a 180-degree difference. Very, what you I would say, a black and white difference, because everything about the school was black and white. The rules, the colors, the people, the attitudes, the uh, the lack of love and nurturing, the lack of um, patience, and the lack of guidance, the lack of true guidance, the the uh, the, the complete and utter loneliness and helplessness of being away from your family. Uh, it was very much uh, very much an institutionalization of the mind and the spirit. Um, a lot of people liken it to the prisoner experience, and I would say yes. The regimentation, the dehumanization, and the disregard for uh, uh, the differences that we had as Native children, being taken over by, for us at the time, it was the Catholic Church, and it was very traumatic to just the cultural nihilism that happened was very traumatic as a child.
Thanks so much, Sam. I know your sister was really important to you. Did you want to talk a little bit about her, and also about what it meant when you finally came home?
Coming home was always it was a relief, but under trauma, the family changes a lot. And my parents broke up when we were in residential school, and so as children we were dealing with very minimal visitation, because parents weren't allowed to the residential school, and we got Christmas visits, and we got to go back for the summer, and so it was a little bit. There was a lot of alienation going home. There was a lot of you know the time crunch, but about limited time to visit, and kind of feeling that time it was I guess it was like any kind of, even modern day parental visits are hard, when families break up. But back then it was hard too, because my father at the time, so we'd go visit him as a single dad on the reserve. It was so nice to see him and be back at our old home on the reserve, but it had lost its sense of home, the one that we had earlier on growing up, my mother and him together. All the effort and joy and the love, the home cooking and the integration of the community it was torn apart. And there was really no no way to understand it as a child. But looking back, it's just feeling that we're under contract of law to go to these schools, and there was no recourse for our parents to fight these decisions. And but it was nice to be back to visit. And actually, one time, my mother was a very strong person, very strong individual. She actually came to this residential school once to visit. I don't know how she did it, but she talked her way into coming to see me and my brother in the junior dorm. And it was so weird. She was the only mom, only parent that I ever came to the junior dorm. And she came, and she was beautiful. She had a black fur coat on with a black fur tall hat, and her curls were coming out under her hat. She looked like Sophia Loren or something, with her skirt and high heels, and her perfume. She looked immaculate, and she had two bags of red apples. And actually, I couldn't get to her because the kids were crowding around her so hard, because every kid there was as lonely as I was. She was immaculate. I guess, like I say, she was gorgeous, and she had these red apples, and she handed them out to all the kids. I managed to say hi to her, and give her a hug, and but it was so short. The visit was so short, but yeah, it was just a crowd of kids all around her. It was it was just a sight to see. Anyway, she was that was one of the rare times I saw her, that when I was in school. And she had moved back to the city to try and get her life restarted after the divorce. So we got to see her in the city after, when we left the school finally. And she put us in the public schools there in Burnaby, and then moved to Los Angeles to put us in public school down there. And she moved down there. So yeah, my sister Kat, she was amazing. She was like my second mother, and it was not legal for us to talk from the boys' side to the girls' side at the time. It was against the rules. And my sister risked punishment every time she tried to talk to us. She was a fighter, Kat Norris, and she was an amazing. She grew up to be an amazing advocate, a political juggernaut. She would organize events to combat homelessness. She's the Murdered Missing Women March. All these things. She did so much for our community, and seeing her strength was just it was a real gift. She's a tremendous loss that I had. She passed away last month. I miss her a lot. My mother passed away earlier this January. I miss her a lot. We're both so strong members of our First Nations community.
Thanks so much, Sam. I know you've got a big family. You had lots of kids running around just before we started this session. Could you tell us a little bit about your kids and your grandkids, and how you built a home for yourself, and you recreated this feeling of home with them?
Sure. Oh yeah. My granddaughter's visiting from Saskatoon. She came with her boyfriend, Matt. They're both 17. They both just graduated. I was the first one to graduate from my family in high school. see these two graduate, and they've been together for a couple of years, and she has a little boy, but they didn't bring him. They're just doing this vacation for themselves. So the other night I got the penthouse suite down at the hotel there, just because just to treat them, and it was so funny because at 17 you can't get a hotel room, so I had to go pretend that I was there was the three of us. So, and I checked in and went out the back door, and then I drove home. I thought it was so funny, just like, things you do for kids. You just always try and make their lives magical. I guess going back to the other thing, it's like coming out of residential school, what I noticed is that the infliction of fear-centered behavior is it's very damaging, and it ruins communication. It builds up distrust, and it builds up a sense of isolation, like not wanting to be communicative or interactive with other people. To me, and I see it's like you see people who are institutionalized, and it's like they have barbed wire behind their eyes. They don't want to put their guards down, and I never wanted that for my kids. I never wanted that attitude for my children or my grandchildren to feel that they need to have their have their guards up, and to always feel free and say what's on their mind, to feel like they're worthy. Like they are worthy of a penthouse suite. Because it is so, to me, it is a very sad thing about residential school, and that the institutionalization of the mind and the heart. It's very it's part of what we call the intergenerational trauma that people are talking about, and to me it's rooted in all the damage, the psychological damage of the individuals in residential school, which I seen firsthand, which I overcame myself, because I am 18 years sober, and in my sobriety I have taken a lot of counseling, therapy, and men's groups, and talked about with other men and therapists and counselors about what do I have to work through, what things are like disrupting my ability to enjoy life on life's terms, and I think being sober for 18 years, I'm able to look at life with more clarity, and to see to deal with things as they come. Like losing my sister and my mom this year, it's been very hard. It's been very, it still is. It still is very hard, and I think the grieving process is it's all about culture. It's about spirit. Like Doug's song. Those are what we need. I've never felt closer to my sister since she passed away. I feel her, and her spirit is like I sense what she feels, what she would want, and the love that she had for her boys, and I watch out for them now. I know that they need me now, and I just like my 4 children, my personal children. One's working on her master's in education. One's working on her master's of nursing. She works as a nurse. My oldest daughter is an office manager. Has a very good, steady income, good job. My son is a construction worker, and they're all really gifted with my children, and they're very much why I wanted to heal, why I wanted to become the best of me, who I am, and I know that's from my cultural, from what grandma taught me when she sat me on those chairs when I was very little, when she worked on me with those words and the prayers and the candle and the cedar and the songs. I know that's what she put in me, was that strength of who we are as a First Nations, that we have a lot, and a lot of that is that love. There's love and there's joy in the world. There's always something to be doing, you know, to be fishing or canoeing, and there's a whole bunch of young people to canoe race now, or they're working every weekend doing that. And there's like Doug would know, and my daughter canned. She canned. My daughter and her good friend canned 45 sockeye this past weekend, and I organized getting it. I cleaned them all, and took their heads off, and I'm going to enjoy some fish head soup later this week. And it's, yeah, all the things that I guess the thing is with I had this thought earlier. I can't. I'll see if I can remember it. But it's yeah, it's like not fear dominated behavior. It doesn't need to be part of our. Once we've worked on our healing, it doesn't need to be part of us. We can be love dominated behavior, love centered behavior for our children. And when a mistake is made, it's like people make mistakes. People forget their cell phones. They come and interrupt Grandpa's Zoom meeting, but that happens. and we'll laugh about it. And they just, you know, it's just so much that you wish that. I wish that for all of our First Nations people. I wish that for all of our villages. And I wish that, like, when I get home, when I go to my home reserve, I'll just go walking around that and go visiting of cousins, and if I know who's home, I'll go visit them. And it's so much fun to do that, because that's what we used to do when we were little. We just always be able to go in and sit with family. And I think that that we can, as long as we're together, we can. Doesn't matter even if it's the new age, new information generation. We can still protect our children. You know, we'll warn them about the internet. We can warn them about that. You know, we can be with them and lift them up. Doug would probably know how to say that. When there's a saying, when you lift them up, and always to have that, because if they're lifted up, they can't be dragged down to the level of whatever it is that's out there, because they have that. They will know, they have it in their heart that they're important. They're worthy. They got things to do. You know, they got life to live, and they can. And it's, I guess that's just, that's the reversal of the residential school process, that intergenerational. I think it's very much, and I think it starts though in doing the spiritual work, like my grandma did to me. That I think we as grandparents, like Doug just did, I just recollected that his song is something that, you know, all grandchildren need to hear that. I want to do that more for my grandchildren too, and it's really nice to be reminded of that. So Haichka.
Thanks so much, Sam. Oh, it's been such a wonderful session listening to you. We're going to close up now. I just wanted to give you the opportunity to say anything else that you might want to before we close.
Okay, well, there was one thing I wanted to say. Almost 2 years ago, I caught COVID and went into a 9-day coma at the St. Paul's Hospital. I was in coma for 9 days and I almost passed away. They did the family Zoom call to say their goodbyes to me, and just in case I didn't come out of the coma. And I didn't know what was going on. The whole family was on the Zoom call and they were all talking really loud. I could barely hear them. The nurse had shooken me to wake me up to try and be part of this conversation. I was laying on the gurney and she shook me, and I was kind of nodding and hemming and hawing. And my late sister, who just passed away last month, she asked me if I wanted to sing her a song. And I guess, I don't remember saying this, but I asked her to sing me the Coming Home song. And she goes, "What? Sing me the Coming Home song." And we don't have a Coming Home song. None that I know of. And she said, oh, she sang a prayer song for me. She told me later, but I did sing you a prayer song. But I was saying I wanted a Coming Home song. I guess maybe in a deep down part of me, that has always been that young 6-year-old boy that always wants to come home. And hearing the title of your show, the Coming Home part, that's what reminded me to think of too. So I need to make a Coming Home song, I guess. Or we need to make a Coming Home song for all survivors, because we need to make sure that all their spirits are called back home, and that we are all together. Oh, I think I was visiting my dad this past weekend, and he said, yeah, nobody got to celebrate birthdays in residential school. We should have one big birthday party, you know, for all survivors, like lots of cake. But I just think on all these little things, you know, is what coming home, I guess, is like bringing families back together, because we were never broken apart and we never should be. And the families that are strong, yeah, they can lead the way. Well, bring everybody together. These, you know, like, and when I used to play Little League football and the coaches were all running in one long line, we'd hold hands. And as boys, you never hold hands. And the coach yelled, "The strong carry the weak, the strong carry the weak." And we're running, and you're running for a long time, 100-yard field, back and forth, and you're exhausted. And because he wanted us all to finish together at the same time. I think, you know, we can do that for each other. So I love to hear Doug sing again. Haichka.
Siam. Haichka. Oh, Haicha. Talkwheat malt. But thank you, Sam. Very touching. I raise my hands to you, your courage and your bravery. You may not know this, but you're good medicine. I really want to raise my hands to you for that, and sharing your story about home, and the tough times at residential school, but I think I can relate to your story in some sense too there, Siam. And but then again, our creator has created the beautiful sound of the drum and the voice. So I like to carry with my song in closing to give us, just as Sam is, some strength and some courage to carry forward for today. And the message that Sam has given again, home is can never take for granted. Again, here in my nation, here in Tz'uminus First Nations, again, Sam, Snotnawas, the places and the communities we call home. Again, Sam, I just dedicate this closing prayer to you. It's a song that we sing in our schools. It's a Squamish. It's a snowbird song. I love it too. So I'll dedicate this to you. And again, thank you all for being here. Courtney, Haichka, thank you for thinking of me, and for all of us actually, for opening and having a closing prayer. Again, thank you, First Nations Housing Infrastructure Council. OSCM. Oh, 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 ho, ho, hey. Oh, oh, hey. Oh, oh, hey. Oh, oh, hey. Oh, oh, hey. Ah, oh, hey. Oh, 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 hey. 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 Ah, ah, hey. Oh, 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 hey. 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 Ah, oh, hey. Oh, Haichka Tzitzian. Good.